had to be pulled to support a student. So Suzanne has just joined us, but I'm Pamela Hambrick. I am the assistant principal at Hogshead Primary in Danville.
And I'm Suzanne Farmer. I'm the principal here at the same school. We have preschool through first grade students in our building, but we thought like with this session, it doesn't matter what age you teach. So this is something that we think will hopefully provide some ideas for everyone.
So I think right now, I know for myself, the phrase self-care really doesn't feel very much like self-care anymore. It just kind of feels like this phrase that's way overused and understood in terms of what it means to the individual. And so we just want to talk about some of the ways that we have worked to support our staff during this last crazy almost 2 years, and some things that we've done and have received some feedback on, or and would love to have this be an open conversation in terms of things that maybe you're doing with your staff that we could learn from you as well during this time.
We've also linked the presentation in when you go to the grid to choose, like where it lists all the sessions, there's a place where there's a link for resources from this session. And when you go to that link, it has our email addresses. It also has this presentation linked. So one of the things that I think is important to start with before we really focus on how we take care of people is we've had to work really hard to try to create some trust and to make it okay for people to be vulnerable and to be honest with us, because we want them to feel really comfortable telling us what's working and what's not working and what they need. Because if they're not going to push back or say like this, hey, this great idea you had is horrible and it's making my life miserable and it's affecting my mental health and my how much I like my job, then it doesn't matter how much we push trying to take care of people if they can't let us know what they need. So we've done this several times. We recently did this again, and we had something a little different, just a couple different questions for new teachers versus our returning teachers. We felt that our new teachers, we offered them lots of extra resources or some extra supports that they might need, and some specific things about some new teacher support they were already getting to make sure that that was helpful. And we asked these types of questions. One of the things that we actually hit on was these things in italics around shared leadership, was because we had just gotten some feedback on what survey was that? It wasn't the impact survey, was it? No, it was before that. There was something about, we were doing some work for our CSIP and preparing for our CSIP. And there were some questions that were asked around, we got some feedback of somebody saying something about like wanting more opportunities for shared leadership and not feeling that there was a lot of input. So we explained kind of like what that was, but also like who was interested. And most people were like, absolutely not, because that sounds like more work, which I don't want to do right now. And so that was why those questions were in there. But we felt like this gave us a pulse and a time to fix some things similar to like an impact survey, but without having to wait for things to get those reports back. So
one of the things you'll notice there at the top says clear is kind. And so that's a philosophy that Suzanne and I live by when we communicate with parents, with our teachers, with students. And so defining what we meant when we said shared leadership was very important to us. And we really work whenever we are coming around an idea, whether it's something we're revisiting or it's new, to really clarify like what is that definition that we're using to make sure we all are understanding it to be the same thing. We all know that if we threw out any kind of educational vernacular, everyone would have some sort of different interpretation of what that actually means. And so we've really worked to make sure that we are all working on that same page in terms of how we're defining that work.
And so then after we got the results with that, we had a really honest conversation with the results. So everything was transparent. Everyone saw the results, and we had a conversation as a staff and used a protocol from that I learned from somewhere else that was like, you said this, so now this. So like you actually quote results that you got. So like you said that there were too many meetings. So now this is how we're adapting our meeting schedule. you said that you really liked this, so we're going to continue that, or now we're going to do that even more, or, and actually quoting those results to them to show them that we were listening and what we're going to be doing next.
With the support of our school counselor, we instituted a daily check-in with our staff. So they just basically rate how they're doing that day. She sets it up on her email to go out on a time send. And so every morning at 8 o'clock, all of our staff receive the survey in their inbox. And so they're just rating themselves on a scale of 1 to 10. There is a place below there that says like to share information if they want to. And so anyone who scores themselves a 7 or lower on that day, generally our school counselor will just do a check-in with them. But it might also be something that she brings to Suzanne or I's attention. Just, hey, you might want to know about this going on with this person. So it just is a way for us to keep a pulse on some things that might be coming up from day to day that we don't have necessarily that opportunity to talk with staff, but just need to make sure we're doing some extra touch-ins with them.
When we were virtual, fully virtual, this looked a little different. Like we actually made phone calls to our staff. We took turns and we would call them once a week and check in on them and use that information. And we had a form that we filled out and shared as a leadership team that like this person is going to need additional check-ins. And so they're going through some stuff and we would shade them in different colors to increase their check-ins with the staff to make sure they were okay. We also, in addition to being really intentional about checking in with the staff frequently through those surveys or phone calls and offering things like mental health support, we have mental health support for our staff when they need it. So they can actually talk to our mental health providers that work with our students. They've blocked out some time for staff. We also just make sure that we have regular meetings with each staff member. So we try to just touch in and schedule meetings periodically to talk about what they need and what they want and if they're happy and how their professional growth plan is going. Classified staff and certified staff, sometimes that can look informal. So like if when we came back from break, just making sure that first morning we were back from break, that we talked to every single person informally, like socially, to ask how they were doing and glad that they were back. And in those conversations, got a lot of information about what was going on for people and sharing that to think about how we can support them mentally and socially.
And some of the feedback from that has been powerful just in terms of, people will say, wow, no one's ever, my principal's never taken the time to just talk to me for a few minutes. It's always been a, hey, how are you, quick pass in the hallway. And so it's really, their opportunity to kind of have that captive audience with Suzanne or I or both of us to just talk about whatever is going on. And there you have those staff members who, hey, I'm fine, everything's good, to those who just kind of use that opportunity, that platform to open up and really share some deeper things that are happening in their world.
And through that, we've also learned sometimes what they need professionally. So then it could be some next steps that they want to take as a staff member, or some, like, we can then grow them into being what they need next and provide them some different opportunities. It could be that we need to rethink who they work with because there may be some conflict or some things that we need to help with. So we get a lot of information. This is something little that we do that people really like. We do a lot with giving people notes. So we have notes that we write regularly, lots of different ways. We have like little Post-it notes that we can put on the door. We have notes that we write to their whole classroom that the students get. We have a mailbox where kids can write to us that they really like. We also do things with dry erase markers and write all over the windows of the school. These are just some of the ones that we've written to the teachers, and they don't erase them. Like, they're super proud of them, and they'll keep them up, and you'll see them around the school. We also have done to encourage people, so it's not just coming from us. We have notes. We do a lot with gratitude, and we have notes for people to be able to write to each other. So we have we regularly change them.
Yeah, things they can just grab from the workroom that are already ready.
We keep them right by the staff mailboxes in the workroom, and it's just a little prompt that sits there that says something about, sharing your gratitude for each other and showing people how you're thankful for them, and they write each other notes and stick them in the mailboxes all the time. So they also hear from their colleagues.
At the beginning of the year, we were working through, and we still are a little bit, this book called I Wish My Teacher Knew, if it's something that you might be familiar with. And you may have seen the kind of movement on social media in terms of teachers asking their students to write down something that they wish that they knew. And so we were using that for kind of setting the tone of coming back to school, thinking about what our students would tell us. Again, you know, we do have the 3-year-olds to 7-year-olds, so we don't necessarily always get kind of the information the same way as we would with older students. But we thought it was really important to give staff an opportunity to tell us that same kind of thing. So like, what do you wish that we knew that maybe you haven't had a conversation with us about, or something that's going on? Some people signed their names to this, some left it completely anonymous, but we got some of the same kind of deep information that you see on what teachers receive from, you know, I wish my principal knew that as a first-year teacher, I don't have a clue what I'm doing, right? Like voicing their concerns about how they're feeling overwhelmed and how they feel like they, you know, aren't sure how things are going to go for them. That, you know, this is the job they've always dreamed of, but they're afraid they're going to mess it up. Or my family has been dealing with some struggles and some trauma that happened over the summer. So it was really an opportunity for us to then kind of back up and go, okay, we now have some more information, some more insight into the needs of our staff, whether we know specifically or just kind of holistically, and how do we need to make sure that we are meeting those needs and addressing those with other things that we're doing throughout the year, and what we're asking of staff as well.
We've been working on, you can see my name's not on, I don't have a lot of dates on my side. We've just started trying to keep track a little better of when we write people notes or do something for them. So this is an internal document to make sure that we're not leaving anybody out. So this is something that we were better at when we were virtual. We had a sheet where we tracked it every week who we had contacted, and it was shared so that we could see and be more intentional about making sure no one was left out. And I'm having a hard time getting back into this habit. Pamela has gotten better at like tracking it, and I've done notes and forgotten to put them on here, but this is just another way that you can keep track of it and have a whole team approach to making sure that you're supporting your staff.
So a few years ago, our students started learning mindfulness strategies, and after learning probably 5 to 10 different strategies, voted for what they thought should be our school-wide mindfulness strategies. And so that poster that you'll see there in the bottom left, those are our school-wide strategies that all of our students preschool through first grade know. We do them, at least one of them daily as a whole school, and we use them, you know, as needed with kids. But we have implemented this with our staff as well. So anytime that we're coming together, whether it's a staff meeting, a committee meeting, any kind of work that we're doing together, we start off that time together with a mindfulness practice of some sort. A lot of times that will be our school counselor who's leading those and introducing new ones to our staff. But we also have that resource that you see in the bottom right corner there, mindfulness skills for kids. So all of our teachers have those. It's a deck of cards to use with their students. And so we just do those cards from time to time with our teachers. We're modeling how to go about using those, how to do those exercises as a staff, in hopes then that will also then translate back to what they're doing with kids in the classroom.
Something that we created and did with our staff last year was we realized that we were going to have to be more intentional about taking care of ourselves. And this was something we started at the beginning of last year, was a self-care plan. And our staff had to think about, one of the things that we talk about it a lot is that we are crew, not passengers, and we're sort of talk about this, we're better together motto. And so like, what does that mean to us, and what is that, how do we treat each other, how should we be working together? But then on the other side, our self-care action. So like signs of burnout, and thinking about what does it look like when you're burning out, what are the things that you do, What do you do to relieve your stress? And who can you reach out to for support? But we also, in that, wanted people to have accountability partners. So thinking about who is going to check on you to make sure that, like, letting those people know that they need to make sure that you're taking the time to take care of yourself, and letting them know what your stress triggers are or your relief is and your signs of burnout. So like Pamela knows mine for sure, and she will call me out and say, I can tell that you're starting to get worn thin because you're doing this. And so I'm going to need you to go take a walk, right? Like, or, you know, like we actually have tried to do like walking meetings. And that's one of the ways that we will walk the building if we need to talk through something instead of sitting in an office. And then also any kind of helpful reminders that are going to help you to stay on track. Like, is it in my boat? Like, is this something that I can control? Is this something I should be worrying about? So, and don't freak out till you find out. So waiting until you know, like, so this is, these are mantras that help this person through their plan of staying with their, trying to take care of themselves. So we have a lot of staff who have kept these up and still have them posted next to their desks. But we've tried every year to do something a little different to help people with actually making a plan for self-care.
So we kind of talked about some of the things that we like to do at the beginning or during our time together as a staff. And so as we always finish up, again, a staff meeting, we always ask the question, so how are you going to take care of yourself before tomorrow? And we, give wait time, think time for that. And then we want them to tell someone before they leave that day, because the power in verbalizing that plan, it causes you to really think more intentionally about it in terms of following through, right? So not just a thought, not just something, in a passing, like, oh, we've been asked this question, but to really think about it. And so people will share out sometimes what their intentions are for taking care of themselves. But I think it has also allowed us to move away from that self-care phrase to some very specific things, and to also recognize that self-care looks very different for every individual person at different places, in a day, in a week, with whatever struggles they might be having. And so there are people who've been like, heard someone else's idea, like, I'm going to go home and I'm just going to, sit on the couch with my dog and pet my dog for 10 minutes. Somebody else says, well, I don't guess I ever really thought about that as a way to take care of myself before. And so it starts a conversation between staff, but then it also leads to other people to think about ways that maybe they could take care of themselves that they haven't been, or opportunities to participate in something that would bring them a little joy.
And I think what we've learned by having this be a regular thing, this isn't something we always used to do. It's something we've been doing for at least a year, maybe a year and a half. At the end of all of our faculty meetings and things. And it's let our teachers know that it's like, we want them to take the time to take care of themselves. And we're telling them as their supervisors, like, this is important to us. So it's as important or more important than everything we just discussed in this meeting. We're taking the time to tell you, don't forget, before tomorrow, stop whatever work you're doing. If you're doing work, then to make sure that you take care of yourself. One of our parents this year has been working on her yoga certification. And so we worked with her in order to do that. For someone to be certified as a yoga instructor, they have to do, or at least around here, they have to do 8 classes for free, like in the community. And they have to have like a letter from that place of work to say that they had done that. So you could reach out to any kind of yoga studio or exercise studio to offer for those people to do the hours with your staff. So this has been really nice because she came to our school and did it after school. We surveyed to see if they want to go to the yoga studio, if they want to do it here. And she was able to provide free yoga classes and on site for our staff. So that's something that we've now let the yoga studio know that, hey, we want to do this more often. And it has gotten some of our teachers into some different ways to exercise.
So on Thursdays with our students and our staff, we do what we call Thank You Thursday. And so we're always encouraging our students to think about ways that they can show gratitude, who they might, vocalize that gratitude to, or ways that they can exhibit that. And so that is something that we also do with staff regularly. We'll send out an email or maybe even make a little video sometimes, just expressing our gratitude to our staff. This last year, as we were getting ready to go into winter break, we bought gratitude journals for just little small journals from Amazon for each of our staff members, just to encourage them to have a place to write some of those gratitudes down, and to try to practice gratitude outside of just the ways that we're trying to model it and opportunities that we're presenting here at school.
We also, this was something that kind of started on accident. We, with our students, had been doing crew member of the week in our first year as a school, and where the teachers kind of pick someone that's like a student of the week. So they were the crew member of the week, and we had this sign made, or that we had bought and had somebody letter it. But then we went to put the like a die cut of lettering on the wall to be more permanent. And when we did, we had this little extra sign, and we just started it off by saying, okay, we're going to pass crew member of the week on to this teacher. And then each week it's their responsibility to pass it on to someone else. And we have gone to where, because of being virtual, a new habit was created where they are expected to make a video. And we put that video each week in our staff newsletter. We use S'more for our staff newsletters. And that's a regular feature each week, is who's the crew member of the week. And it's pretty hilarious. The staff have gotten really into it. They've done things like, now there's bunny ears that travel with it, and you're expected to wear bunny ears for part of being crew member of the week. The sign travels and goes, and each time people have something a little more hilarious that they add to this to build each other up and to spread positive culture.
At the beginning of the year, each staff member fills out a little form called My Favorite Things. And so it might be your favorite color, your favorite beverage, favorite snacks, ways that someone else would be able to spoil you or bring you a treat or something like that. And so we have, in the past, our bookkeeper just kept these in a wonderful binder in her office, and they were accessible to staff if necessary. And so this year we decided that we wanted them to be a little more easily accessible to everyone. So we scanned them into a PDF document that is shared with our entire staff. So if I have a teacher who I just want to do a little pick me up for, I can go look at My Favorite Things with that document and see that Reese's Pieces are her favorite candy, and know that I can pick up something that she's going to really enjoy and really like, and be able to, leave her a little something as a surprise for her or a treat for her. So it's just ways that, we can make sure that when, we want to do a little something, and going back to that spreadsheet, this is kind of what we use a lot of times when we're picking up a little something like that. This will be the resource to say like, oh, I'm going to, spoil them with a Diet Coke today when I pick up something else. So it's just a way for us to know those likes and dislikes of our staff, and be able to tailor some of those kind of thinking of you type things to their likes.
And that's actually also bound like as a hard copy in the workroom too. So staff, when they're in there, can see the hard copy of it. And when we also have staff school Google site, and it's also on the Google site, so it's easy to see. Like if you're out at the store, it's easy to get on the Google site and find this document. Another thing that we've done at the start of every meeting, we have an opportunity for shout outs to start with things that are positive, and that staff can just say things and give each other shout outs. We also have a digital form for giving a shout out, and if somebody gives a digital shout out, then that's put in our newsletter each week. So it's just another way to pass positivity and to help each other out.
So the next step for us is we have this crazy idea that we want to have a quiet, calm down space for teachers. So we have this really wonky, like triangle shaped room in our building, which has
A
like
storage closet with a water heater in it or something.
it's not perfect. Okay. It's not perfect by any stretch, but it's like this little corner of the world in our building. And we all
Can't be
know
used for students because of the.
Yeah. We don't have corners. We
Equipment in it.
can just do this kind of thing. But what we would like, our goal is to kind of create that as like a quiet space for our teachers, not a staff space in terms of like making copies and eating lunch and, you know, that kind of thing, but like a quiet space where we could have a diffuser running and, you know, low lighting and, you know, they can have bean bags on the floor that they know no small child has wiped their nose on, you know, things like that, will just provide them a space that when they need a break during the day, that they have a place to go where they know they can kind of get some peace and some quiet and be able to recenter themselves. That way, when they come back to their classroom, they are ready to go and give them their best to their students. So, you know, we're thinking like a fancy rug, and I don't know who's gonna, you know, pay for all of these things. We haven't figured all that out yet, but
Well, a lot of
we're
our
gonna
staff
have
have said they have things they can pass along. So, you know, we're just, that's the next step. It's taking some time because we've had to find places to put the things that are currently in the room. But we're slowly getting there.
So these are just some of the things that we are doing at Hogsett to try to support our teachers and staff. We would love to open it up if you have things that you're doing that we could add to our list of options to try, or questions that you might have.
And I hope that we've had given you an idea of something that's helpful.
Yeah, lots of great stuff in there. I love the self-care plan and actually have that written out for everybody ahead of time. And I really like that idea. I think I'm gonna borrow that one for sure.
Thank you.
Anyone else with questions for Pamela and Suzanne? Looks like we've got about 2-3 minutes left. Lots of positive stuff in the chat box there. Lots of folks responding how much they love the ideas.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
I would love to see what that school looks like with preschooler through first grade only. That's
Yeah.
a unique setup. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Well, people are welcome to visit. We're really proud of our space. Our district has done a wonderful job of remodeling our school. So we've only been in that configuration. I think this is our third year, third year in the configuration, fourth year in the configuration, third year in this building. So we've done a remodel of an existing building that has been remodeled for that age. And it's busy and it's hilarious and there's organized chaos.
Yeah, it sounds really interesting.
Never boring.
I can imagine. All right.
Lots of hugs.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording here.